guys, today I want to talk about existential OCD and the existence of God. We always talk about obsessive compulsive disorder and the way that it influences our spiritual experience. I want to take that one step further today though and add the other layer of existential OCD. For those of you who might be new to my channel, we talk about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and scrupulosity, the way that it hijacks our spiritual lives. And so today I'm specifically going to be talking to people that have clinical OCD and are believers who really are wanting to believe in God, trying to believe in God. They do believe in God, but are bothered by that chronic doubt aspect of obsessive compulsive disorder. So I'm not making this video to, contend on the stage of apologists who are trying to prove the existence of God through logical and rational means. I know there's going to be somebody who watches this video who just happened upon it, doesn't have OCD at all, and is just going to come leave some funny comments below, because anytime we talk about the existence of God, we get lots of interesting conversations, and I welcome those. But I am specifically talking today to people who have OCD and do believe in God, but are bothered by doubts about it. And I'm going to add that layer also about existential OCD. And one more note, and then I'll actually get to what we're talking about. If you have OCD, you have religious OCD, you watch my videos regularly, but you do not have existential OCD, you may not want to watch this video today, because I don't want to contagiously infect you with new things to worry about. But if you are in that minority category of people who have the religious and existential obsessions, I think today might be helpful for you. Okay, so let's just talk about what are we looking at when we talk about that intersect between religious OCD and existential OCD. I can tell you this has been one of my areas that I have struggled with. And the existential OCD side of things is that questioning about reality. Some people might experience some detachment from reality, or feelings of, like, the word is escaping me now, but you guys know what I'm talking about, derealization and depersonalization. Not everybody has that. In my case, I haven't had that, but I've had many spirals and conversations with myself in my head about the nature of reality. Sometimes, you might end up thinking, like, am I in a dream? Am I in reality? Is this the Matrix? And then you see the number 6 too many times in a row. You're like, ooh, is that a glitch in the Matrix? Like what's going on? What if all of my thoughts are predetermined and everything in my life is just a puppet? Like, I'm a puppet and everything's being played out because everything's been determined for me already. What if this and that about all the nature of existence? What if I'm in a computer game? Okay, I know this is sounding weird to some of you guys, but I got the courage to talk about this because I met with a client a couple weeks ago who was describing exactly the same thing. And I realized, like, you know what? It's a minority subset of us who have religious OCD and existential OCD, but there are some of us who struggle with those themes. He knows who he is. I'm sure if he watches this, he'll know I'm referring to him. But we talked about that together, and some of the struggles that we go through with the chronic uncertainty. You may have heard some of the philosophers of old talking about, these pithy little statements like, I think, therefore I am. And you're like, well, I do think, therefore I exist. But what am I actually? Am I really a volitional human being? Or am I like a few pixels on a computer of some, like, extraterrestrial? Like, what am I? What is reality? What is this place that I'm living in? Is it even real? And yeah, enough said on that. That can quickly spiral into the religious OCD aspect of, like, well, if none of this is real, if I really am living in a matrix, what if there's no God? What if there's, like, another reality outside of that, or another reality outside of that reality? What if all of reality is just a bunch of, like, these little Russian dolls, like nested within each other? Yeah, the existence of God, and kind of like, you guys know, I've talked before, like, the existence of God is one of my bigger religious OCD struggles. So I just want to share, like, one or two brief thoughts that I think have helped me. And one of those is the existence of beauty. You might be like, what does that have to do with any of this? Well, for me, the existence of beauty, obviously I'm sitting outside, my office is still not done, so I'm in all kinds of random places making videos these days, but we have like 4 acres here in Maryland, and it's very secluded. It's set back from the road. We have deer and all kinds of animals on our property, and every time I'm outside here, I'm always looking around. I'm like, wow, like, God is so good to us. We have this little little piece of paradise. It's just so beautiful and so perfect. And there's flowers and mulberry trees and rows of Sharon and all kinds of beautiful flowering shrubs. And it's beautiful. Like it really is so beautiful. And when I look at nature around me, I think to myself, whoever designed this, whatever we're in, whether it is a computer game or whether it's a matrix or whether it really is like a real world, which I, on all of my good days, I'm sure I'm living in a real world. But whoever designed this must be good. And think about that for a second. Whoever designed this must be good because the designer made it beautiful. It could have been that whoever designed us to be here could have just put us in a black box with no colors, no shapes, no textures, no smells, just a black box. This is not so far-fetched. Think about the animals that live in the deep sea where there's no light that accesses them. I mean, maybe God put them there just to remind us that could have been your existence. Like, I could have made you in the darkest cavern of the world where you have no eyesight, or blind salamanders that live in caves. I mean, that could be our existence. And in a way it is, because we're kind of blind to many things in the universe. But I guess my point that I'm making is that God, we could say the designer, because some days our brains are doing all kinds of tricks on us and we don't know where we are and who we should believe in. But whoever designed all of this made it beautiful, which generally speaking, if somebody extends beauty to another person, it indicates the first party's interest in the second party being happy. So beauty indicates that there is goodness and there is love, and that the person who put me here is interested in me. I take encouragement from that, and here's why I'm kind of phrasing things in such vague terminology, and I'm, not saying God, I'm saying the designer. Because when you have obsessive compulsive disorder, you can never get your brain to feel sure and secure about really anything. The nature of the chronic doubt aspect of the way our brains work is such that you're just playing this constant game of ping pong with your brain, and your brain always has another yes but to every argument that you bring in. I can tell you guys, I have spent hours upon hours upon hours upon hours listening to apologetic debates between creationists and evolutionists. I've read about all the different arguments for the existence of God, against the existence of God. And there's some really good arguments out there. I do think that intelligent design and the case for the creator is really strong. I'm willing to put my money behind that one. I'm willing to put my whole life behind that one. But I will say it's not a foolproof explanation. If you go really deep into what the creationists teach versus what evolutionists teach, both sides have unanswered questions. It's not that one side completely can disprove the other, but there are unanswered arguments in both camps. So whether you talk about the existence of God or you kind of take the whole atheistic argument, there's hurdles to surmount. I do, again, like I was saying, I do think that there's more evidence behind the idea of God and God as a creator than any other theory that's out there, that at least the ones that I've encountered. I guess what I'm saying is that there's evidence, but we have to make our decision based on evidence, not based on overt proof. You can't just put the whole thing in a test tube and sit there in the laboratory and watch and poof, oh yay, it's been proven. Oh good, I can, go home and sleep well tonight. We can't base it on proof. I think that it's probably done that way intentionally. I think that God made it that way because there is no silver bullet that can make all of your doubts about existential reality and about the existence of God go away. There's no silver bullet that can do that. We have to rest on the weight of evidence, and we make our decision based on what seems to be most logical. And also, the personal experience that we have, I think, is also very valid. That, if you've experienced God, that says a lot. I guess what I'm coming to is that the existence of beauty and goodness and morality and all these lovely things around me indicate to me more evidence that, there is a designer. All these existential concerns that I may have about what reality I'm actually living in, the only way that I can go forward through that as a person with clinical obsessive compulsive disorder, the route forward is not to find better arguments, but to learn to be okay with some of the ambiguity of that, and just realizing that, what, I don't know for sure. I don't have a way of proving this in a laboratory. I have to just weigh the evidence until I have a reasonable level of evidence, and then just move forward, like trusting in the decision that I've chosen. I definitely think this is an area where leaning into the uncertainty is important. But at the end of the day, like, we have to remember that our brains are really deceiving us. And the vast majority of people out there could look at 1/3 the evidence that you've looked at and they would be completely satisfied with it. But your brain just wants to keep going and going and going and going and asking, like, I hear an airplane, but is it really an airplane? Or is it just a glitch in the matrix, you know? And like, we don't have to constantly be questioning and over questioning the world that we live in or the God that we serve. We can just say, like, you know what, I do the best that I can, and then I have to move forward. So anyways, I think that's a little bit of a complicated one to talk about today, and I hope I've, you know, done a little bit of justice to it. I hope there's something in there that's helpful to you guys if you're struggling with the existential OCD and religious OCD. I hope there's not many of you. But anyways, I will try to do another video about something more widely experienced next time. But feel free to drop in the comments any specific topics that you would like to hear about in upcoming videos, and I will do my best to take a look at those. Okay guys, thanks for sticking with it this far. We'll talk to you again later.